Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Veteran Psychedelic Discourse, and we are a group that advocates for safe and responsible exploration of mental health treatments. This is not a platform for soliciting any illegal substances, and please keep yourself muted for the duration of the event unless you're called for asking a question or something like that. This event is being recorded and will be posted to PPS's YouTube channel. If you have a question, please be patient and use the reaction button to raise your hand and remain muted until we call on you. If you have a question but don't wish to have your face on screen, then you have the option to turn off your camera. And if you don't wish to have your name or your voice recorded, then feel free to use the chat box and we'll ask the questions for you. Amy Almond-Schmid has 23 plus years of military service and is currently assigned as a Chief Master Sergeant of the Oregon Air National Guard. Her career has been dedicated to serving the needs of military personnel and their families. Most recently was the Military and Family Readiness Program Manager for the 142nd Wing in Portland, where she often referred clients to Returning Veterans Project. Amy was hired in October 2022 to serve in a civilian capacity as the executive director for the nonprofit. Based on her passion for networking, connecting people to resources, and her professional background in diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. Her stance on the comprehensive wellness of the veteran community and her credentialing in emotional intelligence and human resilience concepts. So everyone, like to welcome Amy Almond-Schmid. How's it going, Amy?
Hi, good morning. Thank you. And I really appreciate the help with the extra link to bring me right into the group.
Yeah, no problem. Can you give us a brief, just how you got started? Give us a little bit info about yourself.
Sure. So like my bio said, I've been serving for 23 plus years now. I started active duty and then I was a reservist. Now I'm a guardsman here in the state of Oregon. I'd been working with Returning Veterans Project as just a resource provider since 2012. And their executive director left early last year and they asked if I would apply. I went through a 4-part interview process and jumped on board with them in October. Still had some military obligations that I needed to attend to. So did half the month of October with RVP, half in military status, and then fully joined RVP, Returning Veterans Project, in November of last year. So I'm brand new to the 501c3 nonprofit world. You know, my brain is very military still. My first day on the job, I worked an event where we were asking for money through an event, and I'm not used to asking for money, right? As a military person, you don't do that. The government says this is the amount of money you get for the year and you spend it or you don't spend it. So people trying to hand me cash was a very foreign, strange thing in effort to build our nonprofit and continue serving this community. So you reached out to me and I was super excited to hear that we'd be an invited entity to share what it is that RVP does here in this community. And I have a PowerPoint presentation for you when you're ready for it.
Yeah, perfect. So let me give you just permissions.
Okay. All right. As already mentioned, I'm brand spanking new executive director of RVP, and that is our link, which is 100% the way we do business. So awesome story. Back in 2005, Carol Levine was a social worker here in the Portland area, and she started seeing an Army guardsman who had just come back from Afghanistan. And she said, wow, if this war continues, we are going to have a problem. The service members here in this state do not have the access that they need to the kind of care that they are going to need for the duration of whatever this war turns out to be. So Carol got on the phone that very day and she recruited 25 of her friends within the mental health community to start seeing veterans for free. She had no idea how big it would get or how willing people would be to offer their services for free to service members, but she was overwhelmed. And in just that one afternoon, had 25 of them say, I commit to this project, whatever it looks like. They did that for a couple of years until someone with a lot of nonprofit experience came in and said, hey, you really need to legitimize this, Carol. And Carol took their great advice and she stopped being the sole point of making and scheduling appointments for service members. And they grew into what RVP is today. We serve all veterans post 9/11 to current, so active duty, Air Force, Army, Coast Guard, Marines, and their families. So unlike some of the other mechanisms to receive mental health care, we don't turn anyone away. If you've got a connection to a service member, post 9/11 to current, we will see you. We will assist you in getting the services that you need. Some facts on post 9/11 veterans specifically. The median age is 37. Our demographics are the largest that they've ever been, the most differentiating they've ever been in history. The U.S. has naturalized more than 30,000 service members since 2017. And the post 9/11 veteran era, we have deployed more times and to more combat zones than in any other era of veterans previously. Post 9/11 veterans include more women than any other era. Women specifically are 2.5 times more likely to complete suicide than civilian women. 1 in 4 women veterans have experienced some sort of military sexual trauma or MST, and women veterans report they are frequently not recognized as veterans. I can attest to that as a woman veteran. Queer veterans, because of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, there were so many of our counterparts that were discharged and didn't have access to care. We don't care about discharge. We don't care about why you left or what reason you were asked to leave. We at RVP want to meet your needs. So like I said before, we offer mental health care and somatic care, which includes acupuncture, massage therapy, and chiropractic care. Our mental health counseling is both traditional and non-traditional. So we're always looking for non-traditional mental health care. And it's free, confidential, timely, and 100% donated by the volunteers that we recruit. And when I say free, I do mean completely free. No verifications, referrals, or paper trail. We support all military families. The services are confidential. Like I said, back in the beginning, Carol was the intake for everyone, and we got out of that. We did not want to be in the HIPAA business. We wanted really and truly for service members to go direct with a provider that might meet their needs and work with them. And then those providers report back to us, numbers and hours only. We don't take any demographic information. And like I've said before, services are provided by a network of individuals who are community-based and volunteers, 100% volunteers. Now you may ask how we keep up those volunteers. I'll tell you in just a minute. Why are we here in the Pacific Northwest? Well, over half of our post 9/11 veterans are not enrolled in the VA. Though the VA is one of our partners, they refer members to us because of long wait lists. The VA and the Portland Vet Center both have a great working relationship with us and point members our direction on a regular basis. 35% of post 9/11 veterans have service-related disabilities, and over half of military families don't have enough savings to cover unexpected health expenses. And what's pretty interesting is this era of veterans is more likely to have no income or live in a household that is receiving some sort of assistance compared to other eras of veterans. We have more barriers to care here in our state because we are not supported by a large military base. Oftentimes the light that is shown on veteran and military communities doesn't exist here in the state of Oregon. So our service area is truly the entire state and Southwest Washington, the 3 counties adjacent to the border. And much of our service area is rural. And so the idea that veterans would have to travel to reach very specific care providers, we're trying to prevent that. COVID helped and hurt us in the telehealth community. We lost a lot of our providers because of age. They retired and they looked at COVID as a way to move on. But also it helped in that people got better at giving and providing telehealth, so we can reach out to those who are in rural communities. The other reason we're here is fear and stigma. For those who are currently serving, over 1/3 of military personnel say seeking mental health would damage their career. And for those that did seek mental health treatment, 21% reported that it had a negative effect on their career. And RVP services provide completely confidential care to help reduce that fear of stigma and reprisal. So when we're out on a campaign talking to currently serving members, we really push that we are an option when they're fearful of information getting to their chain of command. Transitioning to civilian life. So again, because we don't have access to TAPS in our state in the way that big active duty locations might have, we are focused on trauma and injury, establishing a new civilian life, and then a focus on women veterans as well. Okay, back to our volunteer model. So all of our providers, we verify their license, they're insured to volunteer, and we keep all of that in a file system on the back end, which then allows us to track when their licensure and their insurances expire. Volunteer providers typically volunteer to support one client within their scope of practice. However, they can choose to do more. We do connect with schools in the state of Oregon and Southwest Washington as well. So for example, University of Western States, they practice under their instructors' licensures for the state, and they see hundreds and hundreds of service members and their families and veterans each year. And like I've said before, appointments are 100% always free for RVP clients. A couple of our newest volunteers: a naturopath, a licensed acupuncturist, and an acupuncture and chiropractor. And I show this because the way it works is that we direct members to our directory on our webpage. And then you, as the person looking for care, can scroll through and you'll see these photos just like this. You'll see what the provider, the volunteer provider, offers, and then you go direct with them. So their contact information is listed on the website. You go straight to their office. You let them know, I'm here because I found you on RVP. And then from there, they set up all of your appointments and care. Now, how do we do this? How do we incentivize a volunteer to give of their time? Some just say, hey, I want to do this. I want to give back to my community in this way. But the carrot that we dangle is continuing education credit. So we ask our volunteer pool every year, what do they need? What does the state require of them to keep up their licensure? And we provide that continuing education credit to them every year. So we put out a calendar at the beginning of the year listing all of the things that we will give to them. And every year it changes slightly, again, because we want to know what they're looking for. What do they need? Thus far, it's been very specific to veteran care and what it might be like to work with veterans. Volunteer provider impact. So since our founding in 2005, we've served now, this is from 2022, over 3,500 post 9/11 veterans, service members, and their families. Everywhere I go and every time I speak to a group, I learn of someone who says, again, because of confidentiality, we don't get a lot of feedback. You know, people have to self-identify that they've been users of the service, but they'll come up to me and say, hey, my spouse passed away and I've been using care like so, or my child needed care and I was able to find assistance here, or I was in the Navy. One of our videos, most watched videos on our website is our friend Ben, he came to us and said, hey, I'd really like to be a spokesperson for how this system works and how it helped me. He was in the Navy. There were several years in between his service, and he just couldn't figure out what was wrong and why he felt so down. And he found us online and was able to seek care well after his service. So our 2021 impact report, over 2,400 hours of donated health services provided by our volunteers. 171 members were helped in 2021, and 7 active duty service members identified themselves. Now, this is, again, members and veterans choose to provide information. If they don't want to give their information, all we're getting is the hours that our volunteers provided, and 42 family members. So this is what we know. What we don't know are the numbers of people who said, I just want the care and I don't want to provide you with any information. What we really need from you: tell your friends, help us raise awareness, and not only recruit volunteers, but tell veterans and their families about RVP. If you are in the process of becoming licensed in something, keep us in mind down the road with psilocybin research, what it is, in the state of Oregon, what it is. You know, we're on the forefront of new and developing things. We are very interested in traditional and non-traditional ways to seek care. Comprehensive fitness of one's body, mind, and soul is something that RVP likes to learn about. So we are in the midst right now of working with all of the other nonprofits in the state that work to solve some mental health concerns that are outside of those traditional realms. Check out our page and, of course, follow us on social media. Really and truly an opportunity to say thank you for your time and to let you know that without word of mouth testimonials, RVP wouldn't be successful. It's our number one way to connect with providers and service members. As a veteran, your peer-to-peer referral means more than anything that a provider could go out and say on our behalf. And then for many of our clients, you as a personal connection to a resource can really truly be life-saving. Here's the information of our really teeny tiny team. We have 3 full-time personnel. We do have a board of directors that is 9 strong. And like I said, we are working really and truly to grow the network in the state of Oregon post-COVID and solidify retention of all of our providers in Southwest Washington as well. With that, any questions?
Yeah, so I want to revisit, it sounded like regardless of discharge status, people could get access. So if a spouse of someone with dishonorable discharge would have access to this for free?
Yes, 100%. So we don't ask any information on their discharge status. Really and truly, we give training to all of our volunteer providers, and then when the veteran and or family member contacts them, they're the ones taking the intake information, and we don't ask them to ask the service member and or the family member what their discharge status was.
Okay. Mustafa.
Hi, thanks for a wonderful presentation. I have 2 questions. One is if you could expand a little bit on how justified the fear of discrimination and reprisal on the basis of seeking access to mental health services is, and if it's well justified, sort of how does that play out in terms of restricting economic opportunities for veterans? The second question I want to know is, by your estimate, I know that great data isn't necessarily available, but, sort of what portion of the target population is being served by this nonprofit? Thanks.
Sure. Okay. Let me ask your question back to you. Was your first question, where are we getting information, and is the fear of reprisal legitimate? Like, our service members sharing that information personally?
Yeah, that's what I'd like to know. And if veterans are seeking job opportunities which are different in some way from civilians, in which the culture of stigma around mental health carries over into the civilian world, if something like that is going on.
Yeah, I can't speak for the civilian world. What I can speak to is the currently serving military population. So if a service member were to get mental health, there is still a stigma around seeking the care. And a lot of times it's connected to potential medications, because there are disqualifying medications. If you're put on something that then now disqualifies you from serving, there's that piece of it. And I think that for those currently serving who are seeking help, there is an effort to vocalize, hey, I'm getting the care that I need. I'm meeting my own mental health needs, and there is no reprisal within my organization. But I do think that at some leadership levels, right, people are people. There are still people in leadership roles who will hold someone, or will hold it against someone, or consider them lesser than or weak for seeking the help. I don't think that's across the board, but from those currently serving, there is still a fear that they may be judged or may be looked at as lesser than for seeking the mental health care that they need. And then your second question, is there equity in access to care? Was that the root of the question?
I'd be interested in learning about equity, as well as sort of the overall proportion of the target population which is being served.
Yeah. So because we don't collect demographics, we really can't say who is being served. There has been, because of the way we receive funding, which is outside of the government, we request grants. We look for individual funding through fundraising each year. Some of our funders, our grant fundraisers, have asked for us to collect data that would be collected in the census through the Census Bureau. So we've considered adding that. However, we're still at the mercy of our volunteers to provide us that information and the person seeking seeking the care wanting to give that information. That is a really big concern for us, because we do not want to waver from our confidentiality cornerstone, right? We want people to be able to seek the care and not have to provide information if they choose not to. So to tell you who is being provided services with specificity, we don't have that information because we choose not to force it as a requirement to seek care.
Thank you.
Thanks for the questions.
And do you have, are you restricted for providing services to just people within the state of Oregon?
Okay, so this is dependent on Oregon laws. So Oregon earlier in the year passed a law that PAs and doctorate level could provide telehealth care if they were licensed in the state of Oregon but didn't live here. However, that hasn't trickled down to mental health care in the same way. So we're hoping that the rest of that law that was proposed gets pushed. Over COVID, there was an interim emergency law passed that said that they could provide care. So we were seeking care from people in bordering states with licenses in those bordering states. But right now, to provide care in the state of Oregon, you have to have licensure in the state of Oregon. Southwest Washington, same thing. However, Washington will allow those who are licensed in Oregon to provide care in Washington telehealth wise.
Okay. And just to reiterate for the audience, the services that are provided, this is pulled right off the website. There's acupuncture, art therapy, chiropractic care, drug and alcohol counseling, equine assisted services, hypnotherapy, marriage and family counseling, massage therapy, mental health counseling, naturopathic medicine, and physical therapy. So there's quite a list of things on there. Equine therapy. So you guys have, how does that work? Do you guys have a facility, or do you guys work with other organizations that have locations and horses and whatnot?
Yeah, 100% volunteer. So somebody within the equine therapy community reached out to us and said, we want to be a part of RVP. We want to volunteer our services to your clients. And so we had 2 at one point in time listed on the website. The other lovely thing about our model is that the volunteers can turn themselves on as taking customers or taking clients, or shut themselves off and say, I'm not currently taking clients. So right now we have 115 volunteers on our website. At certain times in our existence, that's been as high as 300, and it's been as low as 100. So right now we're in the building phase, the recruiting phase, and taking on as many therapists in all those traditional and non-traditional capacities. For instance, I had somebody call me. They had been recommended to us. They were a referral from the VA, and they were looking for art therapy. I got on the website with them. Both of our art therapists, 2 right now that are on the website, are not currently seeking clients. I encouraged them to call them directly and get on their wait list, so that when they were open up again to clients of the RVP nature, they'd be first on the list. So that, to me, as the executive director, I went, wow, I need more art therapists here, because my number one goal is that you, as someone seeking care, gets on the website and there's going to be something there to meet your needs.
That's I really like this structure, because to be honest, when I first logged on to do a little bit of research about the organization, I wasn't expecting a broad scope of different types of services. And it's kind of refreshing, and it's cool to see what's out there. And if it's free for veterans and it's something that they're not familiar with, it's available to even just explore, which I think is really cool.
Potentially something new that you've never seen before. And we go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that for people listening, for all these different services on the website, there's actually on one of the pages a filter, so you could filter out the different types of services and what county I believe it's county what you're in. And so you could just get a fresh screen of people that are taking clients in these different types of therapies. And what were you going to say?
I was going to say in 2023, we do just hope to grow all of the different modalities. So we have a lot of acupuncturists who signed up because work was slow for them during COVID, and things closed down. So they were excited to take on new patients. So we're looking for new things to add to the website.
Do you have any things in the horizon that you guys have your sights on?
Well, yes. So there is a group of people in Clark County who are looking to serve in their civilian practices only service members. They're not interested in serving civilian clienteles. They want to build their clinic and only serve veterans here in this area. And so we're looking to get them on as a clinic so that all of their service providers would be RVP volunteers. Additionally, down in Klamath Falls, there is a provider who does a brown bag lunch every month. And his idea is that every single person in Klamath Falls who offers any type of mental health care should be an RVP volunteer. So we're going down to do some work with them and train them and hopefully get, the entire city of Klamath Falls mental health providers on board with RVP.
Okay, and are these what would be close to like a typical licensed family therapist credentialed people, or are these more like hypnotherapy, art therapy, equine therapy? Are these kind of the more, I don't want to say niche, but less typical forms of therapy?
Klamath Falls is a group of typical and non-typical. They get together saying, hey, we're here to serve the mental health needs of this community. And, oh, by the way, we want to focus on veteran-specific needs. So they're all over the map. They've got from a chaplain to a PhD who really, truly focuses on trauma. The Vancouver clinic, not the Vancouver clinic as in the entity, but the people I'm talking about that want to serve veterans and military members in Vancouver, they're very specific. They've got some, I'm sorry, I don't remember the names of the stuff that they are doing, but they're focused on some very specific military, post-military related mental health counseling.
What's the name of that organization?
Which one?
The one that you were saying was doing veteran-focused therapies and treatments?
Yeah, the head of that clinic, her name is Lindsay Torres.
Okay. Do you know the name of the clinic?
I don't actually know that they've named it yet.
Gotcha.
It's that new and in the works. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm actually trying to get Lindsay to join our board because she's so passionate about veteran care.
Roger, yeah, that seems like a very unique approach. I'd be very interested to see what that looks like in 2 or 3 years from now.
Yes.
So if someone's watching this and they grab a link from the description and they say, I want to explore, see what they got, something for me. Do you have an idea, like the intake process? How long would it take for someone would it take within a week as far as visiting the site, filling out some information to be able to get contacted back?
Yeah, it's 100% dependent on the individual volunteer. So we're not playing middleman. We don't take any information on our website. All of that HIPAA intake or data that might be collected from the volunteer mental health provider is done between the service member or the person looking for care and that volunteer provider. So when you go direct with the volunteer provider, it could be that they answer the phone immediately or you leave a voicemail and they reach back to you.
Okay. So I feel like the Give Guide just happened somewhat recently towards the end of the year. Any upcoming events, anything of note for people to keep an eye out for as far as either like providing donations or maybe like public networking events that you guys have in mind? Anything that people should keep their ear to the ground about?
Sure. Yes, we are in the combined federal campaign. So for those who are federal employees or are still serving in some way where you can give out of your paycheck, we do have a CFC number. We're also Amazon Smile connected and Walmart and Fred Meyer connected. So if you do any shopping online, you can choose us as a recipient of your rounding up donations. We host a golf tournament and a poker tournament each year. I say we've been invited to be a part of those. Other large organizations, corporations have asked us to be a part of those charitable events. And that's it on the horizon right now. But we're always looking to get involved in the community and participate in functions that are occurring.
Okay. I visited your guys' YouTube channel and I was watching a couple of videos to fill in some context. And someone was mentioning how they really appreciated training, and she kind of left it at that. And I was curious, I know there's some nonprofit mental health organizations like NAMI, they have training type of programs for people to take part in. Is it something like that to like fill in some informed trauma context for family members of a loved one, or what type of training is it that you guys have?
Our training is specific continuing education training towards interested volunteers and currently serving volunteers within our network. So we work with Star Behavioral Health and Psych Armor to provide information that is specific to those working within the veteran population. We also work with the VA and MIREC. It's MIRECC, and all of the training that they give to providers that work within the VA healthcare industry. They have training annually, and they let us piggyback on their continuing education training as well. This year, we're trying to expand that even further. So we've polled all of our currently serving providers to say, hey, what do you need? What do you want? And then we're going to offer additional continuing education credit to them based on their needs.
Okay. A big thing that's starting this year is just the legalization of like psychedelics, psilocybin, MDMA, stuff like that. A few shows ago, we had the VA in Portland, the people that are conducting the study for that right now on. It seems like everything that they're saying is positive. Does this organization have their sights on this? And if so, what ways would you might be moving forward with it? Are you guys still just seeing how things are going to play out before you make any decisions, or have decisions been made?
Yeah, we are 100% on board. And as soon as there is a license that accompanies the treatment and work within the psilocybin realm, we would love to have volunteers that is their specialty, because we rely on the provider to have insurance and a license within the state. And those are our prerequisites. As soon as they've got that and that exists, we are looking for those volunteers within our network, 100%. We are also the hub of a hub and spoke model for a large foundation called the Bob Woodruff Foundation. Bob Woodruff, I don't know if you're familiar. He was a newscaster. He was embedded doing media coverage within the first run in Afghanistan. He was severely injured in a roadside bombing. We have some sort of agreement with the Associated Press that when that occurs to our media personalities, they get care through the same realm that the veterans would get care. So all of his care was through Walter Reed. And while he was there, he was like, wow, our veterans could really use a lot more than what they've got now. So he started this massive foundation. And what they do is they pick nonprofits in each major city to be the hub. They funnel information to them on grants and events and money, streams of money that other nonprofits could take advantage of. And then we as the hub push that out to all the nonprofits in the community. So we as the hub for Bob Woodruff communicate with all of the other nonprofits in the Portland area. I tell you all this because I just had a meeting with Bob Woodruff last week, and they too are watching Oregon. What's happening in Oregon in the realm of psilocybin? They are very excited to go, how can we help and support this, not new, but alternative, non-standard method of caring for veterans and their mental health. So we've got support from Bob Woodruff. I watched your VA YouTube from a few months ago, and we are on board.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, it's very exciting to see this start to develop. Brian, I'm going to speak for Brian. Brian's in his master's program right now, trying to get licensed to get on board with all this stuff. I still have more schooling than that, but I'm doing peer support role right now, just getting used to that space. And I think a lot of people are watching pretty closely. And if for anyone that's out there that wants to get involved in something like this, take charge. Even if, like myself, I have an OTH, I don't even have an honorable discharge, and I'm able to still get some the benefits that I do have. I take advantage of, and I'm involved in the voc rehab program so that I do still be able to get some schooling, and I'm using it in this context. So even if you don't have an honorable discharge, anyone out there that's looking to get into this space, there is organizations, there's ways to get on that path. So I'd encourage you to take a look and start that for yourself. I want to look to the audience. Does anyone have any further questions? No. Brian, do you got anything? Alrighty.
No, that was great, very informative. You commented on this, but the model that you guys are operating on just seems like it's something that's got a lot of potential. I mean, I'm in California right now, and I wish we had something like this out in California. I'm feeling kind of jealous. So yeah, you guys seem to have something really awesome going on.
Yeah, no, I haven't heard of a structure like this, just kind of being the hub for these different practices to be able to just announce their availability and ways to get connected to them. I like that so much because it allows them to operate in their own ways, and it allows the scope to be as broad as it is, so to find something that works for anybody, well, mostly anybody.
Brian, you bring up a really good point. In California, we've been asked as part of our strategic planning if we will expand, if we'll go all West Coast, if we have intentions to go nationally. We really need to focus on Oregon right now as our hub and a location without any support from big active duty bases. But we do have different models of our strategic plan that would include outreaching to California, going further into Washington state, and then potentially moving across the state. But all of that is, once we have strengthened our core of volunteers here in the state of Oregon.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear. I mean, yeah, I look forward to a day when there'll be enough reciprocity between California and Oregon where you could just kind of offer services online, and not have to worry about all the licensure issues and the
yes. Yes, 100%.
Yeah, it sounds incredibly promising because you guys have so much foundation set up that it's basically just beefing up. And so hopefully within even just this year, as things roll out as far as legalization of psilocybin or psychedelic therapies, and as you guys grow your numbers, I have high hopes. I have high hopes for you guys. If there's no more questions, then I'll lead us out. I'd like to thank our guest Amy and the audience for joining us today. If you're watching on YouTube and like to join us live for a future show, feel free to visit our meetup page, and I'll leave a link to that in the description. You could check our calendar to see what guests we have planned in the future. And we meet on the third Sunday of every month at 11 a.m. So make sure you check us out. I'll leave links to our guests and all of the different sections of their website for if you're looking to donate, volunteer, whatnot. Yeah, so thank you very much for joining us, Amy. And
thank you very much.
And our audience, thank you all for coming.
Thank you for having me.